so we're here today. We thought we'd have a really interesting conversation about perimenopause and the menopause. And I'm sitting here with my lovely friend, who is an amazing expert on menopause, by the way, Hannya. And we thought we'd have this conversation. We thought it might be interesting to share with other ladies out there because it's such an important conversation to have. We're talking about, this year we would have been doing these workshops and retreats. And we thought now with COVID and the need to take everything online, we will still do an abridged version because this is such important work. So if you're struggling with the perimenopause and menopause symptoms, which are huge, there's a big long list of symptoms, we'll go through that. This is important that you watch this. Look, we're going to be sharing with you a special offer, but also sharing with you some of the things that we really wish we had have known about perimenopause and menopause earlier. So, hi.
Thanks for that introduction, Trish. Well, shall we start with you just saying something about your personal journey? I mean, how did you come into this detoxing, juicing, gut health?
Yeah, it's almost like I fell into it because I was so unwell. So for 32 years, I had this really debilitating asthma and anaphylaxis. And I knew that, by the time I got into, the 12th time I ended up in hospital because of anaphylaxis, I knew that something had to change. Look, I would never have dreamed of thinking that my asthma and my anaphylaxis problem that I was born in with had anything to do with gut health. Yet I saw a nutritionist in Gloucester and it was life-changing for me. She basically saved my life. She really highlighted that I had high candida, inflammatory foods, a hookworm, all these parasites and flukes and spores. And within 6 weeks of working with her and doing this elimination protocol, I walked into her with a box full of medication. And I was reliant on that medication for breathing and for coping with my allergies. And with working with her for 6 weeks, it was life-changing, and I've been medication-free ever since. But now you may be wondering, what the hell has this got to do with menopause and perimenopause? But what it showed me was that the importance of gut health and cleansing the liver for every stage of life. And we can really lean towards natural remedies to support the body to heal itself because it was life-changing. It was such a transformation for me. So I applied the same principles. I went and studied nutrition, and because I was so blown away that, I could spend 6 weeks changing my diet and cleaning up my gut, and it was so transformational. So I went and studied, and I loved it. And then I really wanted to work out, well, who do I want to help? And it kept coming up for me was perimenopause and menopause journey, because that's where I'm at. I'm 50 and I've been through the menopause. So having kids later in life, I think that I see so many women that are struggling with their health, struggling with sleep, struggling with weight. And especially, once we turn 40, that all tends to catch up with us. So we can really create the environment where the body will heal itself. And this is so vital that we do this work once we transition into perimenopause and then into the menopause. We need to do this work. It's so vital. So what about yourself? Tell me about your interesting journey. I love the fact that you are, psychotherapist, amazing, but you really focus on the perimenopausal journey and the menopausal journey and the 5 stages of the menopause. I think it's fascinating. Tell me more.
Okay, so well, by the time I came to my menopause, I'd been working for some years doing psychotherapy, body work. I worked with trauma, worked a lot with women and women's issues. And then I realized I need to take a break. And actually, when I did I did a menopause workshop before I went away, and my teacher said, sometimes you just have to take a menopause sabbatical. And that's exactly what I had decided to do. So I arranged to take a year off my work, which entailed giving up all my clients. It was actually a long preparation to give everything up. But I was determined to go back to Central America and go into South America and just go on this journey of adventure and travel and do some volunteer work and learn Spanish. And I really wanted to go into the wild. There was something about I needed to really experience this deep connection to the natural world and to my own wildness. And that was part of my menopause journey. So I embarked on my journey. And the last thing I did before I went was that I went on a weekend workshop with Alexandra Pope and her colleague, Shani. They have a school called Red School, and they teach women about how to prepare for menopause, and they also do a lot of work with menstruating women. And it's a fantastic training. And what I learned was the 5 stages of the menopause journey, but they correspond to the different stages that happen within the menstrual bleed. Wow. Which is fascinating. So we'll go into that a bit more. So I did this, I went on my journey, and then I had lots of, it was a very deep inner journey I went on, but I came back and I decided to do their training. So I did the full training so that I could work more deeply with menstruating women and perimenopausal, menopausal women, but really to understand the journey at a psychological, emotional, spiritual level, because it is this very profound, transformative inner journey that we're on. And I think what's so lovely is that you're working with women at the physiological level and really supporting the shifts in the body and the energy. And I'm working just in a different way. I'm working more with the psychological, emotional. So I think they actually really complement each other, and we need to work at all those different levels.
It's really interesting, because that's been my journey with menopause, has been so much not about the physical symptoms, which I know a lot of women struggle with, but more the mental, the anxiety, self-esteem, overwhelm, at the head level. And I think so doing that part of the journey would be so important. And look, I would love to take a year out of my life, but we understand that women are really busy, and we know that this is a time to slow down. But, what could you say for the women that can't take a year out of their busy lives? Like for me, I've had kids late in life. What's the alternative to having a year off?
Well, what I would say the most important thing for women for coming into the menopause and during the menopausal years, and that can be a long process, that can go on for 10 years or so, but is to learn to love yourself and to rest, to really slow down and learn to nurture yourself, listen to the body and spend time in nature. And I think those are the most important things. It's like nurturing the body, listening to your feelings and your needs, spend time in nature, and regularly take space, create space, go away. You can go away for a weekend, go on a retreat. Really go and do Alexandra and Shani's workshop, because, and this both for younger women who want to learn more about their cycle, but for older women who are, coming out of the regular cycle, more into working with the lunar cycle, because once you're through your menstruating years, you can still work, with the seasons, we call them the inner seasons, where you're still working with the cycle of the moon and connecting to, the rhythm of the natural world. So I would say that's the most important shift, because what's happening is, as women during these years, we're really trying to go more deeply into our body and connect with ourselves more deeply, in terms of, being part of nature, I would say. Being part of the natural world, not being separate. We're coming out of this sense of being separate and the ego, but more into a sense of what connects us at a deeper level. And that is this sense of just being, which we can, when we're in the natural world, when we're in touch with, our natural rhythms, I think we can stop and connect with our beingness, which is, that deeply restful place inside ourselves. So we're all longing, I think, longing to find that in ourselves. So
yeah, it's really interesting when you say about the lunar cycle. That was a really profound shift for me as a young adult, knowing that firstly living with other women and how in sync we would become with our cycle, but then also mapping it in conjunction with the lunar cycle, and then how quickly it changed to be in line with the moon. That was really like, wow, I had a moon cycle calendar, and I would map my period according to that. And I think that really helped me conceive really easily. And, it was a really interesting journey to have that knowledge. And any of my girlfriends who have had young daughters, I really encourage them to get that lunar cycle calendar and start mapping your menstruation against that, because it's very empowering just to have that knowledge and to know that that continues after you stop menstruating is also very powerful. And it's about that knowledge and feeling empowered and you know, starting to feel better about yourself, for sure.
And we are reclaiming that ancient knowledge now.
Yeah, we had that conversation about Indigenous Australians, and many cultures do this, where women would gather together. They would be together during their menstruating. They would go and bathe. They would go and bleed into the earth or into the river and give back to the earth, and honour that sacred monthly ritual. Yet in our Western society, of course, we push on, we maybe take pain relief, and we sort of think, right, just got to carry on working and, you know, being stoic and being the house maker and the breadwinner and whatever we are, and the mum, and just take some pain relief and get on with it, you know. Whereas in other cultures, it's a really honoured ritual that happens. And, you know, from a point of view from nutrition, it's a great chance to detox. So we have this monthly detox as a lady, and that is so profoundly effective for letting go of blood and letting go of blood cells and letting go of toxins in our body. It's a way we do that. So it's interesting to honour that as well.
Shall I say something about the 5 stages? Because
tell me about the 5 stages. That's fascinating.
Because you were talking about the bleed and how that's a physical detox.
Yeah. And
it's also, you know, a deep psychological, emotional detox at the same time. So I learned the 5 stages from Alexandra and Shani, who've already mapped out the territory in a very beautiful way. And so I thought it might be really useful just to talk through those 5 stages, which are the same. The 5 stages that a woman will go through in her bleed phase of the cycle. And the same 5 stages that a woman will go through later on when she's going through her menopause. So it's absolutely wonderful that you could be practicing this through all your menstruating years. If you know about this, then you can be practicing it very consciously through all those years. So when you get to the menopause, you have all this confidence and experience and deep wisdom that you've accumulated. And then you'll know about those 5 stages. So that I think that can really help the menopause passage to be more fulfilling, actually, and less challenging and less of an unknown, if you understand the deeper process we're going through.
I think it's something to celebrate this ancient wisdom. So tell me 5 stages.
Okay, very briefly. And actually, we are planning to do this in more depth in our course to come, which we'll tell you about. So the first stage, well, there are 5 stages: separation, surrender, renewal, visioning, and direction. So obviously, you know, I'm going to explain it as a linear process, but it's not. They're all present at the same time, and we can go back and, you know, renegotiate them. And so it is a bit of a, you know, spiral sense of going forward and back. But in terms of describing it now, the first stage, separation, I would say, is probably the most difficult to negotiate. And so I'll just speak a little bit of my own experience, which was that when I came to take my sabbatical, I had to do a lot of letting go. So there's this separation process, which means you may have to let go of, you know, your work or your relationship or your home or
your business.
Your business. I mean, it is profound, you know, to have to do that massive letting go, and it can bring up so many feelings, you know, fear and anxiety and whatever, all these different feelings. So I had to do a lot of letting go to get myself from here over to Central America, South America. And that was about 5 years ago now. And then the next stage is surrender. And surrender is you've sort of negotiated the separation and things feel a little bit easier because you're letting go into the experience. There's a sense of acceptance and starting to listen to yourself and, you know, listen to your feelings. You're starting to be a bit more intuitive. It's a sense of it's easing a little bit. My process of surrender, when I think back, it was very challenging because I had this very difficult piece of news, and I was over in Colombia on my way to Costa Rica, I think, and I had this difficult piece of news, and it triggered me into so many old feelings. And this is what happens in the menopause, is that we have to revisit earlier stages of our life where we may not have completed those processes. So I got triggered back into actually something in adolescence. And I had to find the resources for myself over there to sort of be with what was coming up for me. And that was quite a challenging process. But what was beautiful for me was that I got myself to Costa Rica, and I was in paradise. And so I had to go through this, it can be quite a, to really go deep into surrender can involve a lot of difficult feelings as well. It can be grief, it can be struggle, resistance, regrets, all kinds of things. And I had to really let go a lot and be with a lot of grief. But I was in paradise, so I just surrendered to being in paradise. And then what happened? I was in these national parks in Costa Rica, and so when you go deep into surrender, there is something that opens up inside you, and it's the experience of this is the deepest part of both the menstrual bleed and of the menopause journey, is when you surrender your ego and you drop into being. This is why it's such a spiritual opening. It's an awakening, and you can experience a sense of just being. And for me, being in the national parks, it was an experience of deep awe and wonder at the beauty of the natural world. So anyway, I went into this deep experience of surrender and beingness, and it was a real experience of feeling part of nature. And then from that experience of really connecting to myself at a deeper level, I had this vision of what I was really here to do. And this is sort of a natural process. As you deepen into yourself, then this calling just opens up naturally. And that can happen for women every month when they're in their bleed. And it can happen during the menopause. So it's a very organic process of, this is who I am and this is what I'm here for. Anyway, so that was what happened for me. And I had this vision. I'm really here to work with women around empowerment, and particularly work with young women. And then when you have your vision, then you have the sense of direction, which is, okay, this is what I need to do now. I need to take action in order that I can really birth this new phase of my life, or this new, this new project, this new business, whatever it is. So those are the 5 stages in a nutshell. And it can take, months, years to go through that. And obviously when you're in your bleed, that could be 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
You go through that. So it can be quite intense.
So having this framework can be then applied to your life, so you feel like you're a bit more in control or empowered or aware of that whole process. And I think that that's really valuable to know what's coming. I think that it can be very, very helpful as we're navigating that transition from transition into perimenopause, which can, as you say, can take years, and then transitioning through the menopause to make it as smooth as possible, to help make it as smooth. And I know, so many women that I deal with are really struggling with those unwanted symptoms. They're feeling really tired all the time, and they're accidentally overweight, and they're not sleeping very well, and they're really stuck in these physical symptoms where they're experiencing hot flushes, and they might be feeling that anxiety, that panic disorder, or sometimes it can be presenting physical, like rashes and unexpected allergies, and and I think a lot of women are stuck in those physical symptoms, which we can help relieve through diet and very simple techniques that can help relieve those. But when you've got this idea of the bigger picture of where you're heading from a mental perspective, I think that that's very empowering as well, that you can move beyond the physical, and you can be moving beyond the I'm bloated, I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling frumpy, I'm feeling I've got these hot sweats, I'm feeling hot, I can't sleep very well. So I think the combination of the two, working on the physical and the mental, is very, very empowering. It's very unique. I wish I had known this in my 40s, as I was navigating having young children, having kids late in life, and then navigating the perimenopause and the menopause. I think that that's very beneficial.
Can you say anything more about what you wish you'd known? Because that's really useful for our viewers too. Yeah,
look, I really wish I had have known much more about the importance of really listening to the body, listening to all the little whispers. Because all the little whispers, you know, your body whispers a long time before it starts to shout. And I always tell my clients this, but you've got to pay attention to those little whispers. So if you're a little bit stressed, or you're a little bit overweight, or you're feeling a little bit tired, or you're feeling a little bit achy, or you're feeling not quite yourself, your body feels alien to you, and you're not sleeping well, and you are really stressed, then the transition going into perimenopause and menopause is going to be much more rocky. So we pay attention to the little things, and we identify what those are. And then we also really look at eating very differently to support our body, so we're not eating a lot of inflammatory foods. And I can guide you as to what they are, but definitely, ladies, you know, a lot of alcohol and a lot of caffeine and a lot of sugar is going to make your journey into perimenopause and menopause much more difficult. If you have a very highly stressful life, your journey will be more difficult. So it's about creating that space and knowing it's going to be okay with more space and more time and more deeper self-care techniques. They will be very profound and very necessary. So really the importance of de-stressing, making sure that you're eating well for the menopause, avoiding inflammatory foods, definitely avoiding booze. Coffee can play all sorts of havoc with your hormones. So very, very much focused on liver health. That will make a massive difference. And knowing also that there's some really practical, easy self-care techniques out there that they're very easy to incorporate into your daily routine. They do take a little bit of time commitment, not much, but little things like oil pulling, tongue scraping, deep breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, yoga breathing, gentle meditations. They're easy to do. They're not costly, but they will have a profound effect on the health of the liver. And the liver is, you know, not only does the liver cleanse the blood every 3 minutes, but the liver has such an important role in the production and the balancing of hormones. So if we look after the liver, then we will have a smoother menopause journey. So what I see in clinic is women that have neglected their liver, have very stressful jobs, very stressful lifestyles, and not taking any time out for self-care. And they're wondering why they're getting, you know, out of the 39 menopause symptoms, they're getting a lot of them. And then they feel it's a really uncomfortable time, and they think that the only answer is HRT. And then, you know, and then we have the compounded impact of the side effects of HRT because we've got a congested liver. So I think that doing all that work to de-stress, making sure you're sleeping well, eating well for your hormone balancing, and knowing what that looks like, taking the confusion out of what that looks like is so important. So important.
So Trish, you know, listen to you, and I really value your depth of knowledge and experience. If I were one of our viewers, I might be thinking, oh, that's an awful lot, you know, and so I might be a bit overwhelmed, and I'm wondering, do you think it's really helpful if women start early? So start preparing even in their 20s, 30s, so that by the time they get to the late 40s, 50s, actually they've got all these good routines in place.
Yeah, and it's difficult. I mean, I know that a lot of us, we spend time in our 20s and 30s picking up these bad habits, and we get to our 40s and realize, right, it's catching up on me now. I need to unwind and detox, and I need to take care of some of those bad habits. And that was certainly me. Like I had very stressful businesses and had kids late and loved a good party and spent, 17 years on the road, living in 2 countries and working at festivals, and it was all like, yeah, party time. And I didn't pay much attention to sleep. I really thought, sleep, who needs it? So I think that, yes, the earlier you start on making sure that you're looking after those foundations of health, the better the transition to menopause will be. But I understand too that life gets in the way, and you have fun in your 20s and 30s, and then you realize that you need to start looking after yourself. Longevity is important, energy is important, having a healthy lifestyle is important. So you have to backpedal a little bit, and that's okay. I do see a lot of women that we do the work in our 40s, so we understand that process. for sure. And it's being realistic, you know. But certainly if you are watching and you are struggling with some of those unwanted symptoms, you're not sleeping well, you're feeling accidentally overweight, you're feeling sluggish, tired all the time, you're feeling like your body's alien to you, then the work that we do is to move you from feeling all those to feeling empowered and happy and vibrant and energized and sleeping well and looking forward to the menopause years with great excitement, because it's a beautiful journey, really, having come out the other end and done all the work, creating it as simple as possible for people to understand, for ladies to understand, as practical and as empowering as possible and enjoyable as possible, because it is it doesn't have to be a struggle. You know, what if there was no menopause, unwanted menopause symptoms, you know? That's my vision, is to really help women understand that it doesn't have to be this struggle. It can be really joyful and, you know, a beautiful journey where you can feel beautiful and feel nourished inside and out, you know? I think that's what menopause is all about, to feel really wise and beautiful.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Can I just share one thing that I wish I'd known?
Yes.
I wish I'd understood the deeper dimension of the menopause journey being about our journey from our deep connection to our birth mother, letting go of that, and then moving into this very beautiful connection to Universal Mother, the Great Mother. It's a, as I understand it and as I've experienced it, it's a very profound journey from the younger self and more of the, you know, the younger years, we're building up our ego. And all those patterns, you know, we're really sorting out all those patterns. But then when we get through the menopause, it's like we've sort through the patterns and we separate deeply from our mother and our childhood and our old, you know, way of being in the world. And so we're birthing this older, wiser version of ourselves, which is separate from our mums. And that is a very deep aspect of the journey, which I didn't really understand fully. And it can involve a lot of grieving. And so when we're, I feel that when we're physiologically detoxing, which is what you're doing very deeply with your clients, we're also psychologically, emotionally detoxing from all the experiences we've had in our birth family and the wounds that we've carried from our mother. And that's a very deep part of the journey too. And then when you do both together, you give yourself the best opportunity to let go and move into the most empowered version of yourself. You know, for you to do your work. So that's what we'd like to support you to do.
Well, it's interesting. So we had this year, we did have workshops and retreats planned, and of course we haven't been able to do any of those. So we've had this idea that we can take it to you online over a period of 4 weeks, where we look at the physical. We talk really practical about, you know, what to eat, what not to eat, how to nourish, how to deal with, you know, the liver cleanse and the kidney cleanse and the detoxing component. But then we also take you through the mental aspect and the journey into feeling more empowered and more purposeful and more aligned, and, you know, and it is very much a rebalancing and a realigning and a reconnecting to purpose, and doing all of that over a period of 4 weeks. So what we're suggesting is that we meet together weekly, online, of course, so we can be socially distant. So you can be anywhere in the world. You can be in Australia or Portugal or Europe or in England. And we'll meet once a week on a Saturday at lunchtime.
Was it 11? 11
yeah, we're going to say 11 till 1 on a Saturday, UK time, British summer time. It will be, we'll let you know in the details, because it'll be October time.
Yeah.
And it'll be a very small group of women. So we're looking for 8 women that are looking to embark on this journey. So it's a very intimate group of supported women, where we will help you transition and help you nourish and cleanse and restore and repair and do that reconnection work, do the realigning, doing the rebalancing work.
And we'll also be taking you through the 5 stages of the menopause journey, and that will be on a theoretical and also on an experiential level. So you'll have the opportunity to really learn, understand these stages and apply them in your life, which will be incredibly supportive. And also to say, I think this could be for younger women too. It could be for a
Yeah.
younger woman who wants to, learn more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
prepare. It would be a
Yeah.
wonderful thing to do, actually.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter where you are in your life. If you'd like to join us, you're most welcome.
Yeah. So this is going to happen in October. Let us know if you're interested. It'll be good to have a discovery call to find out where you're at. So you can connect with either of us to do that. We'll send the link in the comments below. And really to get you on a call. So normally a course like this over 4 weeks, having both experts at this sort of level would be, a few £100 at least. But we're keeping it under £100 to make it affordable for you, make it, time sensitive and affordable, and with really specific outcomes. So you're going to be working with the physical and the mental components of the perimenopause and the menopause and the hormonal journey as being a woman. So if it sounds like something that you will be interested in, then you can contact us directly. Contact me, Trish-Tucker May at trishtuckermay.com, or Hannya on your website.
HanyaMelrose.com.
So there, and contact us directly if it sounds like it's of interest to you. Please do so, and we'd love to hear from you, and love to see you on the course. It'd be really good to see you there.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.